Hello, good morning, good afternoon, welcome. I'm very pleased to be joined by Marco Weber. Marco is the Director for Hydrogen Development at RWE, the big German utility, and is developing projects in the US in terms of specifically, obviously, hydrogen projects, and he's going to be speaking at the World Electrolysis North America Congress from the 4th to the 6th of September in Boston. So welcome, Marco. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks, Nadim, for having me.
I've seen you obviously have a lot of experience, over a decade's experience previously in McKinsey and also E.ON, and now looking at the US market. Maybe you could give us a little bit of background in your views, I guess, specifically on hydrogen and the role you see it playing, and introduce some of the work that you're doing there at RWE in the US market.
Yeah, of course. I'm happy to start maybe with a quick overview of what are we doing at RWE and hydrogen. So RWE Clean Energy, our US entity, originally has a background in renewables, so onshore wind, solar PV, and battery storage. And we see green hydrogen, we're only active in green hydrogen, as a natural extension of our portfolio. And that's why we have a dedicated hydrogen development team that I'm part of to develop green hydrogen projects in the United States. Obviously, not the easiest market, a very early stage market. But that's honestly also what makes it very interesting for me and motivates me to go to work every morning. So I think it's a market that I actually enjoy being part of.
Yeah. And what do you see as some of those challenges? Is it on the shoring up the demand side and actually building a demand profile for the product, or is it the actual mechanics in terms of sort of building the projects and developing the projects?
I mostly see three challenges. Obviously, the offtake side that you mentioned, a big challenge. Number one, there is no infrastructure. Every time we talk to our renewables colleagues, the first question is usually, how do you develop a hydrogen project? And I always tell them, a renewables project is comparably easy. You connect it to the grid. Obviously, you need available capacity, and that's it. Hydrogen, we all know in the market, there's a different challenge. There is no infrastructure, especially in the United States. There is no grid you can just connect to. So usually you end up currently with transporting the hydrogen, which means trucking, which isn't feasible over more than 200, 300 miles and quite costly. So I think that's the first challenge. And secondly, there aren't that many players who are willing to pay a green premium, so to say, for decarbonized product, at least not in the United States. Yes, there are some industries that are looking into green hydrogen, and those are usually the partners we also work with for our projects. Secondly, I think water, that's a big topic, especially here in the United States. Usually the areas where you have the best renewable resources, hence cheap power to produce the hydrogen, are areas where water is scarce. California, West Texas, just to give you two examples. And there we're trying to source water from existing sources that don't compete with residential use, with agricultural use. I think that's a big advantage that hydrogen has, that you don't rely on surface water or groundwater, so fresh water, but you can also tap into brackish water, recycled water, and that's something we're actively looking into. And last but not least, third challenge, I think renewables, a part that people sometimes oversee, but there is a huge demand for renewable energy coming out of the green hydrogen market, depending on how it develops in the future. And there, obviously, we, as RWE, are in a prime position to tap into that growth. And that's why we also see these synergies between our renewables business and our green hydrogen development business.
And do you typically partner with external financiers? Do you tend to do a bulk of the work off your own balance sheet? How do you approach the market? What's your sort of business model?
We fully balance sheet finance. So I think that's the big advantage that we're bringing to the market, that we have a strong balance sheet to finance those projects ourselves. Nevertheless, we're actively partnering with other people out there, because I always describe us as being very conscious of what we can do and what we can't. For example, we say we're not a midstream company. So whenever it comes to building longer pipeline infrastructure, conversion to derivatives like an ammonia loop, literally we don't have any experience, and we don't bring a specific value proposition. So developing all these capabilities in-house doesn't make sense for us. So that would usually be something we partner. So if you think about the hydrogen market along the value chain, renewable energy production, that's our bread and butter business. Green hydrogen production, we also want to be active there. Then everything midstream, we usually partner with companies. And then at the back end of the value chain, our colleagues from our supply and trading business usually come back into play because they have the capabilities to close deals, to trade hydrogen and its derivatives pretty much all over the globe, which is a big advantage for us.
And what are your general perspectives about the market? I mean, do you see it growing? We've also had a lot of, I guess, initial optimism. Now we're seeing maybe a little bit of pessimism creeping in, and people saying, oh, this is hard, it's hard to develop. Is there going to be a market? What are your overall thoughts about the long-term health of the industry?
And that's a good point. We also see some kind of short-term challenges. What's always important for me is to stress that I firmly believe in the long-term fundamentals of the hydrogen market. Hydrogen will be required if you believe in decarbonization to decarbonize certain hard-to-abate industries. That's why I always find it very important to stress that for me, it's just a matter of time. It can take a year, it can take a couple of years, and maybe the market will just fully ramp up mid next year. But that's why I think we should all collaborate and jointly work together to be prepared, decarbonize the economy, and be there when the market finally kicks off.
Yeah, fascinating stuff. Well, many thanks, Marco. It's been great to chat to you. Thanks a lot. And we look forward to meeting you face-to-face come the 4th to the 6th of September in Boston at the World Electrolysis Congress. So many thanks. Stay safe and enjoy the rest of the summer.
Looking forward, Nadim. Thanks.
Cheers. Bye-bye.